Hello and welcome to the Mind Interview. I'm Sunanda Vashish and with me is my colleague Adit Kapadia. How are you today, Adit?
Pretty good. How about you, Sunanda?
Good, good. Our guest on Mind Interview today is a multifaceted personality, internationally renowned danseuse, teacher and choreographer, and the founder director of Anjali Center for Performing Arts, the first Indian dance school in Texas, which was established in 1975, and one of the first in United States of America. An exponent of two major styles of Indian classical dance, Bharatnatyam and Kuchipudi, we at Mindmakers are delighted to have Dr. Rathna Kumar speak to us. Welcome to the show, Dr. Rathna Kumar.
Thank you. You make me sound larger than life.
No, you deserve every bit I said and more than that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for speaking to Mindmakers.
Honor.
And Dr. Kumar, if I had to describe you in one word, more than anything else, I would call you a trailblazer.
Ooh.
You have broken glass ceilings at every step of your life, from what I understand, what I've read about you, what I have researched about you. From child star to Sangeet Natak Academy Puraskar Award, from Ratna Papa to Dr. Rathna Kumar, what has the journey been like?
Fraught with a lot of ups and downs, like any journey. I guess the ups become interesting because of the downs. And the challenges making every win worthwhile. But I have to say that I was quite privileged because I was born into a family of artists. My mother and my aunt were very famous singers. My great uncle, my mother's maternal uncle, Padma Bhushan, in poetry, one of the most famous names in Telugu literature. My grandfather was a very well-known poet, a Padma Shri awardee, before things were political, so they won on their own merit, I have to say. No recommendations, and which is why I still haven't gotten it. That's an aside, one of those dramatic asides. But this was a great advantage because I grew up surrounded by music and literature, books, artists, great people walking in and out of the house, and it was really a privileged childhood to be in the presence of great people, great minds, great thinkers, great artists. And it was an example. Watching them, listening to them, just being in their presence taught me so many life's lessons. And I think I probably would not have been I don't know if I'm a great dancer, but I know I'm a good dancer because for me, dance is the breath of my life. I cannot live without it. I cannot imagine even being without it. And at this point in my life, it is my crutch. It is the only thing that is helping me go from day to day through all that I have gone through. And if I didn't have dance, I probably would have gone crazy by now.
Wow. You were a child star. You didn't want to take up acting?
No. No, when I was about 13, I had specifically, I told my parents that I was not interested in movies at all, that I would like to just concentrate on studies and dance.
Wow.
But dance and studies, I think. And I really wanted to do my PhD. I wanted to study. I really wanted to
Does
study.
that disinterest in movie continue, or you're still a little more interested now in movies?
Not in acting.
Not in
Not in acting, in the dance form. And we'll come to that. We have a couple of questions on that.
No, dance form, I don't know. That world doesn't attract me. I think the real world of dance is what I like.
Not the real
Being
world.
on stage, performing, choreographing, and
Also,
you
you're
come
so
alive.
much in control. As an actor, you're not as much. You're
You
almost...
also, you dance is, it's improvisation.
Yeah.
See, then you are challenged. You have to think for yourself. You go there and you stand in front of an audience. You're alone, and you have nobody to look at. You derive from within you. Your motivation is yourself, and it is a lot more challenging, a lot more difficult. Maybe I like challenges. I don't like things very easy. And for me, I don't like to be standing in front of lights and doing something. I need to be left alone on a stage to do what I felt like.
Absolutely.
Free spirit.
So you've been a performing artist for decades and have performed at various platforms, from Delhi to Houston right now. And we researched that as a child you even performed for Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India. So do you remember anything from that performance and any special memory as a child that you would like to share with our listeners? We have very political listeners, so they would love to listen to that.
I won't be lying, so it's okay. Nobody can point a finger and dig up stuff like they do for politicians and throw at you later on. I'm not worried about that. I think when I was about 3 years old, and I even remember this. I really remember a lot of things from my childhood, and this is one of those occasions. And I was not learning dance formally, and there was a song called Jhum 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 Baji Payal Muri Aja Chori Chori Aja Chori Chori. It was a Lata Mangeshkar song, and I was fascinated by that song. So see, I did two like movies, okay? So I was a choreographer at age 3. I had decided to choreograph this dance, and my mother made one special skirt for me with all these frills and all that, and I'd wear and dance and go around the house. And there was a competition going on, but it was 5 and 5 and above, and I was nowhere in the equation. I didn't like it. I was there watching the competition, and I asked my mother, why am I not dancing on stage? And she said, shh. And I remember bawling and screaming, and they was wondering who's this child throwing tantrums, and somebody asked, why is she crying? And then said, no, she wants to dance too. And then they felt sorry for me. They said, okay, let her dance. And after it was over, I got off the stage, I went straight to the governor, Shri Prakasha. I said, and I tapped him and I said, where's my prize? And the poor thing, he was shocked, he had no idea. And I asked him Telugu. And of course, he didn't know Telugu, and he was wondering, who's this child? And they had to produce.
And where did this happen?
In Chennai.
In Chennai.
And so they had to produce a gift, and they didn't have anything. They were collecting money in a red plastic box, I remember. A plastic box. And so they emptied it and gave me the box. And for the longest time, I told everyone I won this in a competition.
Wow. And Panditji was there?
No, this was Governor Shri Prakash.
Okay.
I was 3.
This was the best.
So I just remembered. So
But there is a picture of you with Panditji outside.
That was, I was 9.
Okay. And did you perform then?
Yeah.
Wow.
This was the day after my performance, and I went and asked him, I said, do you remember me? I danced for you last night. And he smiled and he said, I don't know whether he did, but he said, of course I remember you. And he bent down and he kissed me on my forehead, and I'm smiling. I was so pleased. Yes, he remembered me.
Yeah, and from Panditji to Dr. Kalam, you have seen it all.
Great people.
Great people, amazing.
So, how has teaching, you would say, changed from the time that you were a student, learning from two great gurus, Kalamani, Srimati K. J. Sarsa and Padma Bhushan, Dr. Vempati Chinna Satyam, if I haven't butchered the pronunciation to now. So you've trained like 2,000 students over here from different ethnic backgrounds in US. I mean, obviously we do how has the experience been like?
It's very different in India. In India, the Guru is God. Mata, Pita, Guru, Devam. God comes forth. After your mother and your father, mother comes first. After mother, father is the Guru. And we think of the Guru as, that's it. The Guru's word is the last word. You do not question your teacher. It doesn't happen here. When I first started teaching, I was quite shocked because I told some student, I said, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. And the mother said, tomorrow? We'll only come next week. I said, no, but you can't come next week. Well, how will the child remember? You're supposed to come to class every day. And I think this mother was calculating, oh my God, am I going to pay her $10? I was charging $10, I think, per month or something. She said, am I going to pay her like so much money every month? And she said, no, we won't come every day. And I was horrified. I thought, oh, I went to class every day. How will this child learn? And, I could not go by the clock. For me, 1 hour was not... And when my class went over, all of them would be looking at their watches, and I was wondering, why were they in a hurry to leave? I mean, aren't the kids there to learn? So, I had just arrived from India, and for me, class started at 8 in the morning and went on until 2. And I wouldn't want to go home even after that. So I did not know the urgency of leaving class and going away. You've come there to imbibe. You have to get information. You have to learn. This is an art form. It's like an ocean. How can classes begin and end so fast? So I had to really learn to change my mindset, to fit in with what was the acceptable norm outside of India, and it was a rude awakening. And also the fact that in India we repeat the same thing until we are perfect. And that I found very difficult, because here there were parents who were dropping out. They're taking kids out because they felt that I was spending too much time doing the same thing.
And has this changed in India or not yet? Like, do you think it still remained the same, or now India is also getting where it is, where we are here right now?
Not to this extent, but the idea of like Gurukul and that veneration for gurus, it's not there, not like before.
I look at these kids and I always tell them, at least you have AC now, and you are dancing now. In your time, there was no ACs or no fans or nothing. In the heat, you were dancing. Dr. Kumar, you have seen Indian classical dance through decades. It's been quote unquote challenged, I don't know if challenge is the right word, by Bollywood school of dance, by Western dance forms, and there's a reason for it. The kind of dancing that classical dancing is, it requires years of training under a guru. It requires discipline, it requires dedication that all classical forms demand. And there's also an instant gratification that, Bollywood dance or any other dance will offer. Classical dance or classical discipline will never offer any instant gratification. Yet, classical dance has survived. How do you see the future for Indian classical dance? And also, another question that I want you to answer is that, do you think some classical forms will do better than the others, like Bharatanatyam will do better than Kuchipudi or anything like that?
I'll answer your first query or doubt or. See, Bollywood doesn't require much understanding. It's nothing. You don't need in-depth knowledge of an art form or anything. You can just sit and enjoy, and you don't need any special skills to do Bollywood dancing. You don't even need talent. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. So there's no special requirements as such, and that's why it is so popular. And anyone, Tom, Dick, Harry, and all their cousins, like 10 times removed, can just get up and you can play a song and they can dance. And then there is a joy in being able to move. So people share this, and, people who are watching, people who are doing, they're all, they're connected through this, common thing that, I don't know any dancing, but I can still do this. So, but the thing is that what is popular today is not popular tomorrow. It's replaced by something else. Yesterday's Nimuda is something else today. Then tomorrow Sheila Ki Jamani, day after tomorrow is something else. Munni Jaman is whatever. I don't know only in vague songs. And so everything is replaced. Oh, Kamali, Kamali. So they have specific periods of existence. See, but classical art forms do not have, their period pieces. They are there forever and ever and ever.
Timeless.
And that is, they're tested by time. That is why others may come and go, but these will stay forever, because they are, after all, they have such solid foundation. It's like when an earthquake comes, or a tsunami, the very strong buildings are founded, those that have strong foundations will stay. The others that are not very strong will vanish in a jiffy. And that is the greatness of classical art. Just look at that. The classical music and classical dance all forms, because of their very strong foundations, they will be there forever
also
and
because
ever.
they're blessed by our sages who sat under the trees and blessed us.
And so it's the Vedas that, the scriptures have, that dance was, dance, music and theatre, they were called Natya Veda. It was considered to be a fifth Veda created by Brahma. It was, and he took the 4 elements from Yajur, Sama, Atharvana and Rig Veda. He took elements from the 4 Vedas, combined and created a 5th Veda. So when it's a scripture, how will it go away? Will our Vedas go away? So, entire system of Indian classical music or dance, or that is real old theatre, they will remain strong for a long time. Challenges may come and go. But that is all the more reason why classical dancers are now they're taking it up as a challenge, that they have to work on keeping this alive and well, so that they don't fade away in the face of, the tsunami waves of Bollywood dancing that will not, wipe out the classical art forms. But to the second part of your question, There is, um, I think, a lot of classical dancers have now come to realize that there are some who are still old world and they still do, very famous dancers who still do solo. But they have come to realize that because of all these challenges coming from other areas, you know, whether it's Bollywood or whether it's fusion or hip hop, presentations are everything now. Lighting is everything. And therefore, classical dancers are using their classical idiom to make very, very contemporary presentations.
Very interesting.
Which are so mind-boggling. They're beautiful. Everything, it's purely Bharatanatyam, purely Kuchipudi or purely Odissi, but it is as good as any
Are they
Western
also
presentation.
presentation is one, but or are they also taking up modern issues through their dance?
Many people.
They
who
are?
Oh, yes. Many, 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 many. Sapphire Creations, I think, you know, they were also dealing with this LGBT problems and all that. Because, I mean, what is real and here and now, you cannot run away from it.
Yeah.
You do need to deal with problems. You need to deal with them in different ways. And dance is a wonderful visual idiom to use for making people understand. You know, things like that too. So they have used, Indian classical dance has been used for a lot of, for political, for, you know, for
Social
social.
causes. Yeah.
Many of them have done, you know, like we did some one called Ahimsa, where we used, there was poetry being read by a Pakistani girl and then by a Mexican. These were all about domestic abuse, and we were simultaneously having dance movement. It was like a dance
Wow.
theater to poetry. I've done to Chitra Divakaruni's poems so many times.
Yeah.
Movement with
Yeah.
music playing in the background. So but I only know Kuchipudi and Bharatanatyam. I don't know any other form of dance.
Yeah.
So I only use the two styles that I know to interpret this.
Yeah.
You know, she read from her Palace of Illusions.
Yes,
And I
yes.
did the entire Panchali Draupadi scene from my knowledge of Bharatanatyam and Kuchipudi. But I did it to her.
And it
just
appeals to
you
the
know,
modern audience as well.
her reading.
I think
Yeah.
what you said about foundation, if the foundation is strong, then you can contemporize it to the modern
Yes,
context
yes.
and stuff like that. So, you know, the next question is about that. What I was going to say about, you know, the Indian classical dance or music is, you know, quite well alive in the Western shores right here. And do you think the Western classical dance forms will also influence Indian classical dance forms in future, as in like something like a fusion, or where they take elements of that and incorporate into
It has
this?
already been no future. It's been done.
In contemporary, yeah.
You know, it has been done. It's for the past several
Has it
years.
affected the dance?
No, as in
No,
like-
no, no, no.
The
It was
purity
actually
of the dance?
Chitresh Das ji, who just recently
Right.
passed away, great man. He had done with one with tap. And each, and it was a beautiful Jugalbandi.
Right.
Each performance was seen in its own, as an entity, which was great.
Right.
And then they fused and they did things together, and it was beautiful to watch, and it showed the best of both styles.
Yeah, that's what real
that
fusion is.
something, you know, and they did together to his music and to his music, you know, but they managed to mix and match, and that is a coming together
Yeah.
of East and West in a very harmonious way, and such experiments have been done a lot. We did something for the young audiences of Houston, an African American, Japanese,
Yeah.
a Mexican, and I. And the Mexican did Aztec. All four of us danced barefoot. That was interesting. The Japanese wear socks.
Yeah.
But all of us, we learned one another's movements. We incorporated. And you won't even believe, because we were presenting it in schools, we did our own movements. We put it together to, of all things, Kylie Minogue's Locomotion. I was a little unhappy in the beginning. Slowly I got caught in it. But we were all, we did our own movements. We learned one another's movements. We learned one another's dance movements. And we mixed and matched.
Do the erstwhile gurus frown upon it? Or do you think?
My master probably would have disowned me.
See,
And
that-
my
that was
teacher
the-
would have been more tolerant and she would have said, interesting, but why?
I
But
know.
she would never have, my master would have been horrified. He was a purist
Yeah.
who did not even believe in any fusion.
Yeah.
And his dance dramas were sheer delight to watch. Complete, unadulterated Kuchipudi.
Yeah.
So,
No, plus what was contemporary during your master's time and what is contemporary now, there's a big difference.
no, but he's done Chandalika. He did Chandalika as a Kuchipudi dance drama, which is, also
Pretty
a very contemporary. The man thought so much ahead of his time.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. So that's
It's quite
there.
interesting to know. We record this at the Anjali Center for Performing Arts. We have some beautiful classical music interludes coming where students are doing a riyaz with their Guruji. So,
It's beautiful. This whole thing is beautiful here right now as we hear
it sets up the
strains
ambience.
of music, sets the
Sets up the
ambience.
ambience perfectly.
But Dr. Kumar, as I was asking you in the last segment, do you think some forms of dance will become more popular than others? Say Bharatnatyam becomes more popular than Kuchipudi. I see more kids taking a Bharatnatyam than Kuchipudi.
Well, no, Bharatanatyam always has been very popular because, great people like Rukmani Arundale, who started the Kalakshetra, and, so she was a trailblazer in every sense of the word.
You have started Kalakshetra in United States, in the West. You are trailblazer in your own way.
I hope, if I can be like 1 millionth of what she was, I guess my life would be well lived. But see, that's, so there was a head start, so to say, for Bharatanatyam. And that's why Bharatanatyam is way ahead. And Bharatanatyam has had very articulate proponents, protagonists who...
Unlike Kuchipudi.
Kuchipudi came from a village where, the men who danced were Bhagavatas, but they were all educated in the Vedas, they were all scholars of Sanskrit and Telugu, but they were not educated like, in English to go out and speak. And it was contained in a village for a very long time, and the prerogative of men. And, until the women started dancing and until maybe educated people like me started dancing, I can go talk about Kuchipudi. And then now there are degrees, and most of the people who are dancers today, they have PhDs in Kuchipudi, they speak about it and they write about it. So now there's an opportunity.
Which is interesting that Bharatanatyam was taken up by women right from the beginning, but Kuchipudi wasn't.
No, Kuchipudi was not. Women were not even allowed to do it for a long time. Even Bharatanatyam, there were male dancers, it was Bhagavatas, it was called the Bhagavata Mela, but, and the women who danced, unfortunately, they, for wrong reasons, their reputation suffered. And during the British rule, of course, dance was considered completely taboo. They called them Nach girls, like they were some kind of worthless people dancing for money or something.
Very sad.
And this was classical dance that they were doing in the temples. So I'm glad though now that we do not have these stigmas, and many more young women are taking up dancing. But because of the origins and the way they evolved, Bharatanatyam has become more popular. Kuchipudi enjoyed tremendous popularity during my Guruji's lifetime, but he passed away, and since that time, for some reason, it is not as popular as before. Odissi, on the other hand, is gaining tremendously in popularity. It's a beautiful, beautiful art form. It's a beautiful dance form. And there are others which are also catching up, and each one is so distinct, so beautiful. The greatness of India as a country, you see, and it's not for nothing that the peacock is our national bird. You see, this is multi-hued. Every dance style, they're all based on the Natya Shastra. All of them have, basic vocabulary of movement, yet each one is so different.
Amazing.
Even from neighboring states, they are completely different.
That's why when they use the term melting pot for United States, we're like, we've been a melting pot for centuries.
It was like that forever.
And we continue to be, the more languages, dance forms, musical styles are discovered every day. So
I'm going to take you to a little away from dance. I know you're a thinker, and I know that you're someone who thinks about world issues and everything. In this world, and when feminism has become a label, so to speak, people talk about, a lot of things. What does women empowerment and gender equality mean to you?
It's very important. I've been raised in a household, in a family.
And I'm glad you're saying this because India gets a lot of flack on this these days.
I know. But we had the first woman prime minister.
Yes.
To think of it. And Sri Lanka, our neighbor, had, and we come from so-called conservative countries, but, we have, and, you just take Hinduism. The goddesses are as important as the gods, and Vamabhagam for Shiva, his one half, he's called Ardhanari, and a wife is called Ardhangi, half the body. Half of him is Shakti.
Yeah.
And he says there is no Shiva without Shakti, there is no Shakti without Shiva. So she is just as important. I have been raised with that. My mother was a very strong woman who believed in feminism, and my grandmother, who was married at age 11, was given so much of freedom by my grandfather. And they were friends more than just husband and wife. And I remember she started the first women's magazine in India.
Wow.
She didn't even go to school, but she was also a poetess.
So that is women empowerment right there.
So, so I believe so strongly in it. And
So it's not that India has to learn women empowerment from West. It's the other way around. West has to learn it from India.
India has always had. I think what happens is there is some regress in the villages, because there, I think, lack of education sometimes causes problems. And I think, the male power and dominance and all those, it's not to do with the whole country as such.
It's an aberration.
It is, yes.
It's
and
an
and you've
aberration.
seen it's in some places more than in others. But I think if you take a look at colleges and all that, there are more women students, nowadays. You look at all those other statistics, and, you need to believe that you take isolated cases from here and then say, oh, women are treated badly in India. It's so wrong. I think women in India, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if my country did not, breed people like me. So I'm a living example, and my mother and my grandmother of women empowerment right from the beginning of of Durga Bai Deshmukh, who started the Andhra Mahila Sabha, of Sarojini Naidu. You think of the great women in India, and if somebody comes and tells me, I'm really furious.
I know.
And as you said, we had a woman prime minister 48 years ago.
And I definitely believe in women empowerment. We are empowered, and we have been empowered, and we will be.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, to finally wrap it up, I know dance is everything for you, and I mean, you love what you do, as we were just talking about before the interview. What is life if you're not doing what you like?
Exactly.
What would you have any other interests or something, and what would interest you other than classical dance or just dance or something?
It's hard to believe that you would have anything, but do you?
Oh my God, I cannot even go to sleep without a book by my side. We had no television, right, when we were growing up, the radio. I had to listen to Binaka Geetmala as I was studying for my English exams. So, music and books are my passion. If I don't have a book, I cannot imagine falling asleep without a book next to me. Fall asleep with a book on my face sometimes.
Who are your favorite singers,
Yes, I
contemporary?
was just coming to that.
I listen a lot to, actually, born and raised in South India. I remember waking up to Radio Pakistan. My father knew not a single word of Hindi or Urdu, but my parents loved Hindustani classical. So I was raised in a South Indian household, loving Hindustani and Carnatic so much that, for me, I have no favorite. I just love. But I used to, for the longest time, I just had to have Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Saab's Thumris playing like constantly, and Begum Akhtar. I remember taking my mother, and my mother sat there crying through the performance. She said, oh my God, what a voice. So I have that same love. I can cry when I listen to any kind of beautiful music. Actually, not even classical, no favorite. I can listen to Chinese, to Indonesian, to Russian,
Everything has its own beauty.
music. And I love music. I love books.
Yeah.
And I live dance.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. Dr. Kumar, thank you for speaking to Mind Makers
Such an honor.
today.
Such an honor.
It's been a
Delightful
delightful,
conversation.
yes.
Thank you.
And best wishes to you, more
you.
power to you, and best wishes to this beautiful school that you have created where we are today. And thank you for giving us an opportunity to come here and record this here. Thank you so much.
I just want to add one thing.
Please go ahead.
That my personal empowerment, this came most from my husband, who truly believed that he had to give me the right to do what I wanted, and did everything in his power to make sure that I was my own woman. So
Yeah.
So this is a tribute to him.
Absolutely.
Yes.
On that,
Also would like to announce the website for Anjali School of Dance. Would you please say your website?
Yes,
for-
it's www.anjalicenter.org. For those who live in India, it's CANTER, American spelling, .org. And that's, I'm also the artistic director for Samskriti.
Okay.
Nice Sanskrit name, Samskriti. And we bring artists, great Indian artists from everywhere in the world to perform for Houston audiences. And that's www.samskritihouston.org.
So listeners, go to the website, read more about Dr. Kumar, and do let us know what you think about this interview.
please like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at MYINDMAKERS. Once again, this is Adit Kapadia and Sunanda Vashish signing off from Anjali Center in Houston. Thank you.